quiet down this path. There was a lot of people picnicking and enjoying the sunny weather that we're finally having. But I've taken this route, and suddenly the sounds of civilization are gone. It's comforting and a bit chilling. Man, these are not the right shoes right now. So let's just hope that there is no poison ivy. So next candle on our agenda here is Badlands National Park. Just take a look at that label for a minute. Again, we're dealing with a sense of place, and what a place to have a candle based on. So many possibilities, that scenery, that terrain. How could you not want a fragrance, an aroma to help transport you to this location? So let's see what's going on inside of Badlands. Oh man. Smokiness. Can you deal with smoke? But I should be more clear. This isn't like billowing clouds of smoke hitting your face, right? This is more of something that has been smoked in the past tense, because I'm getting this sweet hickory and dried cedar. Again, that dried cedar. It almost smells like somewhere you would store your firewood for the winter season. But the first thing that was ringing the bells in my brain was beef jerky. A peppered, cracked black peppered beef jerky. There is that gaminess, there is that meatiness to this candle. And if that turns you off, give me a second, because I love bold choices, and already this has surpassed my expectations as far as making bold choices. There's going to be baking spices. I'm going to classify them, not so much cinnamon, but nutmeg and star anise. You can never miss that one. Star anise has that black licorice aroma. And there's a sweetness here. Of course, my mind wants to think of teriyaki beef jerky, but I think a good way to describe it would be something like molasses. Think of that nice, dark, robust molasses. And you know what? I'm getting that saturated soil, or better yet, saturated mulch that I was expecting to smell on the Golden Gate. If we wanted to talk about florals, I could certainly see some floral action here in the realm of jasmine. Same thing with fruit. Not a whole lot of fruit going on, but I definitely could see kind of like a spiced orange. So something I really should state, this is a pretty masculine candle. I know that's a subjective statement, but if I were to classify this, very manly, very mountain man kind of smell here. Tobacco leaf or tobacco. Let me specify, I'm not getting that sweet raisinated smell that you get on tobacco sometimes. This is much more of the experience of walking in a humidor, a walk-in humidor where you buy quality cigars. It has that tobacco, Sherlock Holmes, Philip Marlowe, Sam Spade kind of smell to it. Very, very masculine in an old school, sophisticated way. There it is. Badlands National Park. Another one that you should check out if you liked my description. I'll tell you a little bit about Yankee Candle's description on the back. A wide open mix of sage, cedar, and patchouli, striking and masculine as the craggy Badlands. Yeah, I mean patchouli, I don't think that's a lie, nor is sage. If I were to elaborate on this sage, it definitely wouldn't be like a freshly picked sage. It's kind of like the sage that's dried out in bundles. You set a flame and you christen a new home. And maybe that's where that smokiness is coming from. Patchouli is always going to give you that of the earth, earthy, woodsy, and highly herbaceous aroma. And there's certainly a lot of that going on here. So very fair description, if you ask me. Badlands by Yankee Candle. All right, so the next candle in the Sea America collection is Cape Cod National Seashore, Massachusetts. That is the full name. It's a mouthful, that's for sure, but that's what it says. So a little bit of something I was debating whether or not I was gonna say. I was going to actually film this segment in Cape Cod, but with the nasty weather that we've been having this season, it was just simply not meant to be. And speaking of weather, we have a big, deep, dark cloud hanging over the sun, but time is of the essence. So let's jump into this one. Cape Cod. I have a lot of expectations, don't you? Don't you have expectations? Wow. I mean, I definitely have descriptors, but I'm always looking for the concept. Some things are jumping out, others I might have to think about for a little bit. But here's what I'm smelling. Once again, we're getting citrus. We might as well just get citrus out of the way. To me, it's showing itself as a very tart pink lemonade, even orange juice, and the rind, we should include that as well. Passion fruit. There is a perceived tartness. So something that's really special that's happening here and is perfectly appropriate is the saltiness, the sea breeze, the saline, the sea salt quality that I'm smelling on this candle. Not all aquatic, nautical, beach candles have this. This one does. This smells like kosher salt. But what's really jumping out again is the florals. Goodness gracious, so much florals. Let me try to identify the best I can for you folks. So I can't say for certain that all of the florals that I'm smelling are of course in this jar, but I'm trying to express to you, communicate to you what I'm smelling. Peony, peony for sure, that bright, even fruity smell of peony. Rose, rose petal, or even you could say the stem of the rose, like freshly clipped rose. And an assortment of flowers that we associate with being on the coast, very Polynesian influenced, like lei, hibiscus, carnation, tuberose, and lily. Yes, that very powerful, pungent lily aroma. This is almost taking me back to some of the summer candles from 2017. And I desperately want to say green tea, but you know, I think it's more of the associations, right? We talked about the hibiscus, we talked about the citrus, we talked about the passion fruit, which is a popular ingredient in iced teas these days. And then as I was thinking about that, I was thinking about all of the other sweetness that's in here, like fresh melon sweetness. And then it dawned on me, I get it, possibly. You know, imagine a very large glass pitcher of sweetened iced tea with ice cubes and wedges and slices of lemons. And now it's starting to paint that portrait. Now it's starting to make sense. I'm imagining sitting on a front porch or a patio of a house in Cape Cod, sipping on a super cold glass of sweetened iced tea, as all of those beautiful seaside beach flowers, that aroma is just blowing in my face, with that coastal influence coming right in as well. This is like a warm, sunny, breezy afternoon in Cape Cod. I do want to forewarn you though, a lot of florals happening inside this jar. And speaking of that, Yankee Candle's descriptions, oh my God, look at this. A sunny day along the Cape, warm scents of salt air and beach flowers. Bingo, bango. Okay, so nothing about iced tea, but other than that, that was pretty close. I agree with everything that's on the back of that label, but remember, there's always more. There's always so much more going on. All right, so question, 20 feet deep, no diving. If this is 20 feet deep, you can't dive? Not that I'm planning on diving, but that seems a bit odd. How deep do people go when they dive into a lake? Especially with no height. I mean, there's nothing to jump off of here, you see? There's no cliffs. There's cliffs over here. All right, folks, and last but certainly not least, well, I don't know because I haven't smelled it, but here we have the Everglades National Park. And yet another park I have never been to, but I have a pretty good portrait in my head. I've seen enough photography and video to have an idea, to have a guess of what this may or may not smell like. Let's dive deep into the Everglades, and hopefully we don't get eaten alive by parasites or alligators or anything like that. Okay. All right. I like it. All right. You like that, Santa? I like that. Green. Very green, which is super appropriate. Not necessarily just the obvious things like green grass and chlorophyll. I'm thinking of like green bell peppers. I'm thinking of okra. I'm thinking of yellow squash and zucchini. Yellow squash isn't green, but you know what I mean. We can even go to matcha, like matcha tea. It's green tea that's macerated into a powder, and it's cultivated in a very special way. If you've never had matcha, you gotta check it out. There's a fruity, refreshing side here. I'm thinking of Asian pear. Now, if you've never had an Asian pear, we have to be clear here. This is nothing like a Bartlett pear. It's a different texture, it's a different flavor, it's very candy-esque, and it actually has more of the texture of watermelon than it does a typical tree fruit like a pear or an apple. And herbaceous, this is what I'm talking about. This is how you take us to the Everglades. Herbaceous in the form of weeds, like dandelions and tall blades of grass. You know, the ones that you rub your fingers on and they're really prickly. And speaking of that, prickly pear. We're getting hemp and even nettle. So with that green tea and with some of those herbaceous things that I just said, if you are a big tea aficionado, this is something you have to at least check out. This might really excite you because tea is coming to my mind in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it's really painting that portrait of what I imagine of the Everglades. Let's keep on going. I am getting candy notes in the form of a banana. Banana runts candy, even more specifically, banana Laffy Taffy. But if we don't want to take the candy route, just think of an authentic banana, but a green banana, and not just the meat, not just the starchy fruit, but the peel itself. I'm smelling the yellow banana peel that's slightly green still on the nose of this candle, and all of it has been sweetened. Very specifically, honeydew melon. Again, green for days here. And before I call it quits on this candle, I just want to throw this one in there because I smelled it and then I decided not to say it, but now I'm having a change of heart. Rose. There's a little bit of rose petal in this as well. I don't know, folks. I think out of all of the candles going into this evaluation, this was certainly not the one I thought would be the highlight of the show. But if I had to choose one, and one only, out of the 6 See America Yankee Candle collections, I think it's going to be the Everglades National Park. I usually don't pick favorites, but this one is speaking the most to me because there's a lot of associations. It's very refreshing, it's very clean, it's very soothing, but at the same time, it smells authentically like being outdoors. Very, very nicely done. Yankee Candle's descriptions on the back: a fresh, flowing scent of tropical leaves, bright citrus, and the warm waters of the Everglades. Hey, it sounds beautiful, it smells beautiful, I'll go with that. But if you like the description of any of the other candles that I talked about today, make sure you go into your local Yankee Candle, give them a shot. And I think, folks, that is going to do it for me today. Those clouds are covering the sun more and more. We're losing that sun. So this is where we must part. I must say goodbye. But thank you for joining me. It's always a pleasure. Question of the day: which national park, or any park for that matter, I'm actually in a state park right now, which park do you want to visit the most? And if there's one that's a favorite, which one is your favorite? Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you do that. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you folks real soon. Have a good one. Very, very masculine in an old school, in an old school sophisticated way. And I'll tell you a little bit about Yankee Candle's description here. A wide open mix of sage, cedar, and patchouli, striking and masculine as the craggy Badlands. Striking and masculine as the craggy Badlands.